Mhm.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight. I'm Judith Boba, and today I'm here with Mohamed Ibrahim. Mohamed is a guide in Egypt and an Egyptologist. His YouTube channel is named Guide of Egypt, and his website is beautyegypttours.com, in case you want to book there, but not right now. So, but without further ado, Mohamed, welcome.
Yeah, how are you, Judith? I'm very good.
Yeah, I'm good as well. So that's always my first question. So how did it start for you? This, yeah, of course you were born in Egypt, but
Mhm.
what made you go into your line of work? Do you come from a family tradition of Egyptologist or?
I am the first one in the
Okay.
family. Yes, as you said, I was born in Egypt, of course. But where exactly in Egypt? That is an important question. I was born in Memphis,
Mhm.
the big city of ancient Egypt. And the Memphis still exists in modern Egypt. But there is a bigger city called Badrashin. That city includes Memphis, Sakara, Dahshur, Abu Sir, Abu Jarab. So imagine this was the backside of my family house. Okay, the area just a few miles away from my family house. And I always love to say this story. When I was almost 10 years old, the primary school, they took us in a trip to Saqqara. And guess what was our first sight in this place? The Serapeum, the
Ah,
underground tunnels. That was my first ever site I visit in my life. So I was blown away by the place, by the energy. And I can tell you the energy at that time, it was nearly 1987, I think it was that time. The energy was much better than now, stronger.
oh,
And
why do you think that is?
because of the time, look, those machines, and we
Mhm.
will come to this, I believe, later, stopped working a long time ago.
Mhm.
And there is no new energy, there is no production. So we feel what is left. And every year it comes less and less and less. Okay. Until we find a way to turn on the engine again.
Mhm.
So I started to see foreigners for the first time in my life. Okay, I think TVs were not popular at the time. I don't remember watching TV when I was like 10 years old. Okay, so I started to ask my teacher about those foreigners. He started to explain to me. He was very patient and love him, and he's still alive. He's quite old now. God bless him. So he told me you have to speak a foreign language, maybe English, to speak with them. Because I was trying to speak with them, like saying hello and hi in Arabic language. Of course, they didn't respond, just smiled and waved. So I saw an Egyptian person walking with them. So I told my teacher, here is an Egyptian man. So why he is communicating with them? Why not me? So he told me this is a tour guide. And that word stuck with my mind for a long time. And in high school, I got high marks. It could take me to engineering faculty or some like high levels. I decided to go to a college called Tourism and Hotels and Tourism Management. There was archaeology academy and that college for tourism and hotels, which is the same, but it takes you direct to the field of tourism with Egyptology. But if you go to archaeology academy, you will be just an archaeologist or Egyptologist working in the field. So I felt that no, I need to go and practice my knowledge with the people, not stuck in a desert site or in a remote place for a long time, which I don't underestimate this position or the job. But my emotions, my target was to walk, explore, and talk about this. So I found that the best way is to become a tour guide, because in this faculty, there was 3 sections. The section number 1, they study about hotels. So they become hotel managers, receptionists, anything connected with hotels. The second section was travel agents, air, how do you call it? Who book the tickets for flights, okay, ticketing.
Ticketing.
Uh,
Okay.
yes, like employers in travel agencies. And the third section or department was the tour guide department. So I immediately joined that department, and here I am. I graduated and I work for as a tour guide now for almost 20 years.
Okay, great. So if I understand correctly, you have a slightly different point of view from, let's say, classical Egyptology.
Yes, I studied classic Egyptology, but I was lucky, me and my colleagues, that we studied with very famous names. They were very good professors, and they taught us Egyptology in a very good way, because unfortunately we have 2 ways of education. I think it's not only Egypt, it's everywhere. The first way is to give you the story and the items, and the teacher can tell you his own explanation. But the wrong one is you study the explanation of the professor only. So what happened that our professors told us the story, what they found, the items, and what was the color of this stone, how was the shape of it, and what they think the function is. So I can agree or disagree. So that is what happened with me and my colleagues, that we had the material, so we can think about the story. But later the study was, this is the story. Repeat the story, memorize the story, and the exam will come in this way, and you have to memorize it as it is. Otherwise, you don't have a story. So from day 1, I started to build my own stories. And because I was very close to Sakara and Ashur, so I can tell you, when I was a student, I visited these sites tens of times. So I had an idea when I was young that these sites were not built in a regular way like they claim. Okay, and as a countryside boy, we had our own funny stories. We One day we said, "Oh, giant people who built it." Another day we said some kind of spirits, or like phantoms or genies. And then we said another time, no, magic. They used magic. And by the way, some Egyptians still believe the same things till now, because it's not correct in their imagination that regular laborers were cutting and pushing and dragging the stones with primitive ways. Now, didn't convince even the local Egyptians, including me. So when I started to study this, now it didn't make any sense to me. So I started to find a different source. And I was lucky, after I graduated, I met so many people from different places, from America, from Europe, from Australia. And many of them shared their wisdom with me. And we started to talk about almost every site with many levels and details. And I started to understand that I'm on the right way now. I am not creating, or I'm not imagining, okay? But I need to get better explanations. Depend on what? Depend on story, language, the written language. Depend on geology, engineering, astronomy, zoology. So many different types of science can help with what we are explaining. And that is what is happening for me in the last 10 years. I was a tour guide for 20 years. We can say 10 years I was trying to find the information. And the second 10 years, I already found not all of it, but some. And I'm practicing what I found. and I'm digging for more information.
Hmm. In one of your videos, I think I heard in the background Brian Forster. Was he somebody that you met, and did he inspire you?
Yes, Brian Forster, his first 5 tours in Egypt was with me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I met him 2013, and we had tours, one tour every year till 2017. That is the last tour. Him and other people, not, I had tours with Brian Forster, Christopher Dunn, Robert Schoch, Stephen Miller, and so many, many other names.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Robert Schoch,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his model that the weathering of the swings,
Yeah.
and his conclusion that it must be a lot older than it's usually taught. To me, it made a lot of sense what he explained from his field of expertise, but he got a lot of flack for it. So
Yes.
do you understand that? Because I think he made a good case.
Exactly. But it is what we call it a shocking case, because unfortunately, sometimes when you study something for years, tens or maybe hundreds of years, and then suddenly someone can tell you, will come and tell you this is wrong. Then you will like, what? Are you saying that those thousands of professors and hundreds of thousands of books are wrong? Yes, it is simply wrong. Because now we are talking science. We are not talking story. Okay. I can tell you a story now, and you will tell the story to your family, and from family to another, to another, to another. So it will become like a sacred story, like a Bible, like a holy story. No one will question that story until someone will have some records or like some data and say, no, that story is wrong. So that is what happened. Robert wasn't talking Egyptology. He wasn't talking archaeology. He was talking with science. And when we put this story in front of other geologists, they will approve his story. So as archaeologists, we must accept the story. Unless we have another good point against that one. But if we talk history, now history can be easily changed in any time. And we have so many cases, like as we say, history is written by the victorious, okay? And we have hundreds of cases in wrong stories in history written in different way. As an example, we have very clear story in our history. If you read the history of Ramses II, Ramses II, the famous battle between him and the Hittites, which is Turkey now, okay, the ancient Turkish people. He said in his story, I defeated the Hittites, okay, in a very clear way. If you read the Hittites story, they said, we defeated Ramses II. So which one is correct? So you see, that is what happened. If you are writing a story, you can put what you want, okay? That's why we depend on science. So his conclusion, in my opinion, is absolutely right. He knows what he's talking about, okay? And there are so many other evidences are supporting his story. So he didn't come with a unique story. As an individual evidence or individual story. No, there are so many things supporting this story. Okay.
Yeah. So when we think of Egypt, of course, we think about the pyramids.
Sure.
And I once heard Nassim Haramein. He gave a talk about ancient Egypt. And in that talk,
we worked together too in 1917, sorry, 2017. I had a big tour with him.
So he mentioned in that talk that the ancient Egyptians, they showed you everything in their paintings, in the depictions, what they did in the bathroom, brewing beer, drinking beer, whatever it is, they painted
I understand,
it.
yes.
So And then he said, but what we will not find in those pictures is, oh, by the way, we built the pyramids. Is that true? Is there not?
Yes. Exactly. We can see on the walls hunting scenes, building scenes for some things, doing furniture, building, gaming, dancing, playing yoga, leading animals and cows and cattle, fishing, harvest, so many things, except how they cut the stone from the quarry and how they build the pyramids. They never showed us this. Also, they showed us how they transfer obelisks. Okay, how they transfer, not how they cut and how they move it to the Nile section. It is just one individual scene, the obelisk above the boat and going somewhere. But they never showed us how they move the obelisk, how they cut it, how they move it from the quarry to the side, or the if I can call it street, and from the street to the side of the Nile. Okay, so those main events they never showed us. Okay, that is maybe, and I must be honest to tell you, there are some groups are saying that is because it's a sacred information.
Okay.
Okay, I know I don't agree with this, because sacred information could be presented somehow in an unknown place, maybe, or underground on a secret place, and we must find one, at least on a papyrus or any record. No, it is zero.
Yeah. Yeah, one
So
would
the conclusion
imagine
is,
if you build such a monumental structure that you
yes,
would certainly talk about that.
exactly. It will be a great discovery. But if we can find something like this, and it could be the true one, because sometimes we find some things they claim it explains how the pyramid was built, and it's not. Like recently, I think 5 or 6 years ago, they found a papyrus near the Red Sea from the time of Khufu, and they said this is the evidence that the Khufu built the pyramids, because the group of workers who were working in that quarry in near the Red Sea is the same one working at Giza Plateau. Okay, no problem. Because we do have hundreds of workers working in Giza Plateau in the last 2,000 years, right? Last year, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because the work didn't stop in Giza Plateau. And I'm not talking about building pyramids, about anything, renovations, restorations, building a cafeteria, I don't know how to call it, like when I make the road street, paved streets, anything,
The
any
tarmac?
business. Yeah, that black layer, the asphalt. Yes, okay. So I can go home if I'm one of these workers. I will go home and my kids will ask me, Baba, what was your location today? I will say Giza Plateau. So it doesn't mean I built the pyramids, okay? But I was doing something there. So that could be the story. Yes, that group of workers working in Giza Plateau, building a tomb maybe, or doing something, but not necessarily shared in the construction of the Great Pyramid.
Yeah. So another story that we always hear is that the pyramids were tombs. I have my doubts there. What would you say? Do you think these were tombs?
Okay, have you ever heard that shocking information from me when I say yes, the pyramids are, no, not are, were tombs.
Okay.
But here is the question. The pyramids were built to be tombs? Okay, that is the correct question. Because I can tell you something. A mosque or a church, okay, were built to receive, to be tombs for people. The function of the mosque or the church is not for a tomb, right? But sometimes you can find somebody is buried inside the church or also inside the mosque.
Yeah, that's
okay?
true.
So what happened? Someone with power, with influence, he made his tomb, and he built the mosque above, or the church, or the mosque was already built, or the church, and he buried himself inside. Okay, so that is the case. The pyramid was there all the time, and King Khufu or others told his son, or maybe his minister or prime minister, when I die, put me there. So they put them there. But they were not designed to be tools. They were not designed for this simple function. Because I always say, you can, if we don't understand what is this structure, look for the design. If the design is simple, so we expect simple function. If the design is complicated, we expect complicated design function. So the pyramids, yes, I don't deny this, can be used as tombs. Now, maybe now, imagine that it's a time of chaos now, and someone died. So his son can take him and put him inside the pyramid. Okay, that doesn't mean that the pyramid is a tomb. So the question, what is the real function of the tomb, of the pyramid?
So what do you think it was?
Yeah,
I know we will probably not find a handbook.
Look, no, we truly have an answer. The book of Christopher Dunn, Giza Power Plant.
Okay.
But I can say, or I can add to the story of Chris Dunn, that the pyramid has multi-functions. I see the pyramid as a power plant. I see the pyramid as a huge radio station, receiving and sending waves. I can see the pyramid producing waves like microwaves. And very soon I will try to prove this story about microwaves. I will try to do some experiments about this. Okay. And I will let you know if it happened in a good way.
Okay.
The pyramids can work as huge satellite device. Okay. Receiving also from the space, which is being used nowadays. Have you heard about that recent project called the Pyramid Scan?
No.
We have a project now called, when they announced that they found a huge space inside the pyramid. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
Okay, that is what we call it, the project scanning the pyramid project. Okay.
Okay.
This project is depending on what? They try to use X-rays. No, it's not good. Other kind of rays is not good. So they depend on what we call it muons. I think I don't pronounce the word in a correct way, but it is a kind of rays or atoms or something comes from the space. And they receive the picture on plates inside and outside in the corners, different corners of the pyramid. So here it is. They are using what? They are using universal waves, something from outside the planet. So why we don't think that the pyramid itself also is dealing with this kind of rays? Okay. So the pyramid is not one function. No, the pyramid is multi-function.
Other people thought along the lines of maybe because the acoustic is very, very interesting in the pyramid, that might have been used for sound healing. Can you see that, or would you say that's nonsense?
Yes, in a great way. And when I was talking about microwaves, by the way, it is because of that acoustic design also.
Okay.
Because if you cut your microwave from that solid part, you will find a chamber, the same acoustic design. Okay, so this could be dealing with microwaves or resonant. And we found this clearly in the Great Pyramid, in the Grand Gallery inside the Great Pyramid, and in the two pyramids of Dahshur, the one at the north and the one at the south. Okay, which is easily. And by the way, the function or the use of resonant is widely used in Egypt. So when we say Hathor, and in Egyptology books, they call Hathor the lady of music. and songs. No, she is the lady of Resonant. But we mistakenly explain Resonant as music, which is resonant at the end. Okay, so that is the story. So yes, Resonant was used in healing in a wide scale in ancient Egypt.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So the ancient Egyptians do not take credit for building the pyramids. So what is your best guess? Where did they come from?
The ancient Egyptians?
Mhm.
Uh, do you mean the origin of the ancient Egyptians?
No, no, the pyramids.
The pyramids. What do you
Mhm.
mean come from?
Well, we talked about that the Egyptians never depicted themselves building the pyramids.
Mhm.
And I would say if you build such a structure, you would boast a little bit about that because it's really impressive.
Okay,
So,
let me answer. I am about to finish my first book, okay, and it talks about this. I explain the Egyptian history from the beginning. Okay. So when we say Egyptian history, most of the people will think about what I call it dynastic history. So this is the conflict now. When I say to anybody, especially academics, Egyptian history, they would think about Dynasty 1, King Mina or Narmer, and so on till from 3000 BC till 300 BC. And the famous names like Khufu, Khafre, Tutankhamun, Hatshepsut. No, this history, this is the last phase of the Egyptian history. Before 3000 BC, there was an earlier Egyptian civilization. And before 9700 BC, that is, we come now to the story of Robert Schoch, there was an Egyptian civilization. And before that, like 20,000 or 20 something BC, there was an Egyptian civilization. Maybe 80,000 BC, there was an Egyptian civilization. So it is layers of Egyptian civilization. Each one came after the second, after a disaster, huge disaster destroyed the first, then the second, the third. So it happened that the last one came, and the last one covered the earlier ancient Egypt. And they found so many megalithic statues and structures, and they used them, but they didn't put them in their records. Okay. But in somehow, like I will tell you something, you can read between the lines, especially the what was left from the what we call them pre-dynastic people. Okay, the pre-dynastic people, they left us some pictures, and there is a famous ostrich egg, an egg of an ostrich in the Nubian Museum. They represented the three pyramids next to each other with the Nile on their right or east side. Okay, so that is the reason. So I believe that the pyramids and the other impossible structures were built by earlier ancient Egyptians.
Okay. That reminds me of Graham Hancock. He made years ago a documentary, 10,500 BC, Quest for a Lost Civilization. So that would mean if we are going back further and further, the civilization was more advanced than...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because again, if you see my video again about the cycle of the sun, okay, each cycle was born stronger than the cycle after. Okay, or no, not stronger. Let's say the 5 cycles. The first one was light, was awareness. The second cycle, the first cycle is Kepher, the scarab, light, awareness, knowledge. And I always say that humans, the first humans, were superhumans. Were not cavemen, as they show us in movies. No, that is another story.
Yeah.
The end of each cycle, the disaster happened, so humans had to hide under the ground. So that is the beginning of the caveman story. Okay. as a new chance for human to survive. Because I believe that most of our disasters in our planet connected with the sun. It was a disaster from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the sun has great influence in the Egyptian history and stories.
Yeah.
Okay. We can easily say the sun, right, in our modern culture. But the ancient Egyptian, when they were talking about the sun, they had at least 10 different words, vocabulary, to explain the sun in 10 different levels, stages, formation. So when we say Ra, Ra is the sun, atom is the sun, aton, like Akhenaton, is the sun, Amun is the sun. Okay, so how come those are still the sun? Because each one is representing different stage of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
my
Ra
guessing,
would be in the morning.
Ra, the morning before noon.
Mm-hmm.
So Kibber is dawn,
Mm-hmm.
Ra is morning, Atum with noon, Aton afternoon, 3 o'clock p.m., and then Amun sunset.
Mm.
So in this moment now, we are in the new cycle again, which is Kepher.
Mm-hmm.
That's why any kind of human rise or people are trying to find their freedom or take the right, that is because their awareness started to be activated.
Mm.
Because we already left the cycle of darkness, Amun, and now we are in the cycle of light. But because we're still in the beginning of the cycle of light, so our eyes, like early in the morning, we still hazy a little bit, like we don't have clear vision yet.
Yeah.
But believe me, year after year, it's going to be better and better and better. Okay.
I hope so.
If we meet again after 10 years, I will remind you this. Like,
okay.
I believe, and after 10 years, it will be great difference than nowadays.
Mm.
Okay, for the good, for better.
Mm. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me, that we are dealing with a civilization that has been lost and where we have little to nothing, you know, like hard, solid evidence. Mm.
Let me
Then
explain.
then the story, we fell out of the caves and then we thought, let's build the pyramids.
Look, I was giving a lecture in USA in February, and I told them that in this presentation, I'm gonna give them the evidence that we truly had a lost civilization.
Okay.
Because we can keep talking about this for years, but there is no solid evidence. But I have the solid evidence, and I will be happy to share with you.
Share a little bit.
Okay, so imagine that you visit your grandmother's house, like now, okay? She passed away, right?
Yes.
Okay. Imagine that you visit her house, or even the great grandmother, okay?
Yeah, I knew her.
And you find among her, if the house is still there and her stuff is still there, and you put your hand under the pillow or under the mattress and you find iPhone. What do you think? It makes sense. Your great grandmother were using iPhone, this technology.
I would think either somebody is playing a bad joke with me.
No, it was closed. Like no chances for someone.
Okay. Then I would probably think my grandmother was a time traveler.
Okay. So what happened? The real story that the tombs of the people, we call them pre-dynastic. Okay, in their tombs, we found the regular things we expected, like things made from ivory, like comps, like spoons, things made from clay, from pottery, okay? And suddenly we found very fancy jars from alabaster, from granite, from amethyst, from lapis lazuli, in a very, very high quality. And it cannot be done by hand tools. And when I say hand tools, that is a big joke because no tools were used yet in the pre-dynastic time. And we call some of the clay work, we call them the hand work. So they didn't shape it with any machine or any tool. They were shaped using their hands only. So can anybody explain this to me? This man or this woman would just call them primitive, and they were hardly survive. Okay, they will bring amethyst. And do we have amethyst in Egypt? No, we don't. Lapis lazuli in Egypt? We don't. So where is the nearest location for Egypt to get amethyst and lapis lazuli? Can you guess? Egypt in the center of the planet. If you cross all the east side to Afghanistan. So imagine this primitive man who was fighting animals all the day long and hide in a cave in the evening, will go to Afghanistan to bring amethyst and come back to Egypt just to make a nice statue or a jar, which was made perfectly. The edges and the circle and the hands and the hole, okay, with no tools. So this is the evidence that those people found these things. Okay, so that is a fallen empire or fallen civilization, and their things scattered on the ground or like on the ocean level. And the primitive people collected the things and use it, and when they died, they put it with them in their tombs. So we were lucky to find such evidences. Okay. Like if one day when you join one of my tours and I'll take you to Cairo Museum, I'm going to show you impossible materials or impossible shapes. There is a piece when they made the wavy edges of it. I keep joking with my clients and say, if they tell me, if academics will tell me this is plastic, I will be happy, because it doesn't make any sense that this can be done even with a modern tool. It needs a very, very advanced tool to make the wavy curves on stone.
Like a precision tool?
Precision and very fast, so it will not break it like, and sometimes nano tool also, because it creates very tiny details and very tiny corners. A big tool cannot go to this spot. We need a very small tool, okay, like the dentist tools, okay. So that's why you cannot imagine even the technology of the dynastic can do this, okay. So how come pre-dynastic can do this? So the only solution that, of course, they didn't, and they found it. And if they found it, it means older than them. And if it is older than them and more advanced, so here is the evidence. So we had earlier advanced ancient Egypt. Then, and guess if this what we found, so what could be what we didn't find yet, or found by other people and hidden? Okay.
So I saw your video where you talked about these three different times. 3500 BC, which is usually the official story, yes. Then 9700 BC, and even 36,000 BC. So, and you said that during that area, the last one, that included demigods and
yes.
netters.
Yes.
So, do you see a connection to what people call the Anunnaki? And are we looking at a pantheon of Anunnakis that, you know, because I have a feeling a lot of these gods and goddesses that are being presented to us, they morphed in different cultures, got a different name, but actually, if you trace them down, then it's one and the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I understand what you're saying. Look, I may have different understand for this. This is what I just mentioned to you, that the man or human in golden age, okay? Imagine that if suddenly we have someone with the abilities of communication, telepathic, moving things, laser from his eyes, lifting things. So some people will call him God. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't accept this. I think that the ancient Egyptians were talking about the, because if you, as an example, if one of the lists talking about the demigod and the knitters, if we look to this list in a good way, it shows the timeline of the Egyptian civilizations. So I can see the lowest one, okay, in the lowest register, that is the dynastic civilization, and then the before them and before them and before them. So I can see the first one, the knitters, this explaining human in the golden age. What is the golden age? That is the time when humans were able to figure out everything. They don't need to even talk for communications, okay? But I always think, and maybe it is mentioned in some of the sources, especially the holy books, when human felt that they can be at the level of gods, they became arrogant, then the strike happened. That strike could be solar flare, could be flood, like many stories about the flood of Noah. And that flood destroyed civilization, and we had to rise again. And we started not from zero again. Let's say we started from some point, but lost some part of our brain power. Do you remember seeing that movie, Lucy?
Yes.
Okay. I forget the name of the famous actor. He was playing like a scientist, and he was explaining on the screen that we are using almost 13% of our brain power now.
Yeah, I know whom you mean, but
Yes.
his
Morgan Freeman.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that is true. The smartest person on earth now, we know the smartest one we know, is using 13% of the human brain power. So what happened to the 87%? Like gone, disappeared? So why we are using 13? Why not 20? Why not 50? Why not? Because we lost this power by hiding under the ground. How many times we had to hide underground, I don't know. But why we lost it? Because we are hiding under the ground, because we lost the contact with the sun. Okay. And we had to give birth under the ground many generations. And each generation is losing certain percent, maybe 5, 7, 8, I'm not sure. So one after the other, we reached the level of 13%. Okay. So yes, the Turin papyrus and the other source of Manitou, when they talk about 36,000 BC, they were talking, in my opinion, about the human Egyptian, ancient Egyptian civilizations ruled Egypt before the dynastic time. But when we call them the Anunnaki, no, because in land of Sumeria, I think the same happened there. There was the same type of humans, because when I say humans, I'm not talking about only ancient Egypt. It was like global style. Okay. So yes, the Anunnaki, the knitters and all of that, they were one day humans walking on the ground, but with better abilities than what we have nowadays. And by the way, we may do have the same abilities. We still have it, but we don't know how to use it. Okay. Like I always say, every one of us is Superman. Superpower, super knowledge. I am a painter, I am an actor, I am a singer, but I don't know how to use this ability. I didn't turn on this ability. Okay, others can do, but they cannot turn on the other abilities. Okay.
So another, I forgot the name. I'm sorry where that is, but you will know when I. It's this flower of life that seems to be lasered into the stone.
Etched. Yeah, they call it etched. Okay.
So what do you make of that?
Look, I was very, very close to the flower of life in Abydos.
Abydos,
okay,
yeah, exactly.
In the Serapeum. And I was always talking to many stories. Some people say it's just painting. okay, just color. And some said, no, it's etched by laser, okay. Until I became very close and I had to buy a very, very good camera to see it. No, it is not etched 100% and it is not laser at all, okay. It is color, okay. But before they put the color, someone was like a comps made the outlines. So I can see the outlines go a little bit deeper, not very deep, not carving, okay, but it's like, let's say 2-3 millimeters maximum, and then the color above it, but it's not laser at all.
Okay.
And I'm not denying that the ancient Egyptians may use laser, but not in cases like this. Okay.
But it's still very precise.
Of course. And by the way, I can assume that it was done from the first time. Like someone did it, just he was doing the paintings and he did it perfect from the first time, which is impossible to do it this way. Even with tools, you at least will try 2, 3, 5 times, okay, but there is no mistake. So as if we are talking about very professional person.
Yeah.
And by the way, most of the people think that there are 1 or maybe 2 or maybe 3 flowers of lives painted there. No, there are 9, because they are in different corners. And that place is closed for the public visit, but we do private visit in our tours. So we can see the other flowers of life in the different corners in the Osirian temple. So not just 1 or 2 or 3, no, there are 9 flowers of life. As if this was a message, like, come on, people, like, try to put this in your mind. There is something important happening here.
Yeah. So going back to the pyramids, there's a lot of speculation how they were built. What makes absolutely no sense to me is the story with slaves and ropes and, you know, and rams. And because let's face it, slaves are not very motivated.
Look, here is the evidence, and it is modern evidence. Sakara Pyramid was in a bad shape and it needed very serious restoration. Okay. So I'm talking about restoration, not building. It took almost 15 years to do the restoration. 15 years. So what about building the pyramid itself? And the restorers were using lifters and they were using machines to do this, and advanced tools, tubular drills. And I saw some and I made a post recently about it. Okay. So if they used our modern technology to restore some sections of the step pyramid, and it took them 15 years. So how long it will take to build a pyramid with our technology also? I think we're talking about 150 years minimum.
Do you think we would be able to do that?
No, because the number of the blocks and the size of the blocks is exceeding our abilities. Look, if we will not exaggerate, and let's say we will try to be follow logic. Let's say we can, okay, in a theoretical way, okay. So we can build up the pyramid, but how long time? How much money and how much workers? How the efforts, and that 24 hours, which I think must be 24 non-stop work. Okay, so it will be truly a very, very expensive, exhausting, endless job. Okay, and the precision, that is also another thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can do something, but it will not be very precise. That pyramid or the pyramids are very precise. Okay, even with the standards of our machinery mistakes. Okay, sometimes there is what we call it accepted mistakes. I will give you an example. If you go and buy, if you are in a school, primary school or like till high school, and you need a ruler, okay? So you go to buy a ruler from, what do you call it, bookstore, or like where you can buy a ruler?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, from a shop.
Mm.
If you bring me this ruler or give it to a decent engineer, he will tell you it is not very precise. So that is accepted. Why? Because you are not using this in a serious project. You are not using this in a serious work.
Mm.
But when you are a student of engineering and you go to buy a ruler, you go to a certain place who will give you a more precise ruler, but still not perfect precision. Okay, so there is a level of professionals who are using perfect, precise rulers. So you got my point? So this is what we call it, the chances of mistakes, which sometimes accepted. Like it doesn't matter. But when you deal with the pyramid, you must be perfect almost 100%, because what one mistake in the beginning will lead to a serious mistake at the end. And I will give you an example. Imagine that this line of the base, which is almost 23 meters, if they put the stone, the first one, and the second one will be just 1 millimeter wrong. Okay. You know, 1 millimeter is what? It's like the size of the hair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just one hair is almost like 1 millimeter or close to 1 millimeter. It's like a scratch or like a line by the pen. Is that considered like a big mistake? No, even your eyes maybe won't realize this. At the end, the distance or the difference is going to be 22 centimeters,
Mm.
which is big space, big difference. Okay. It didn't happen this way. It was more precise than this. Okay. So that is the point, that everything with the Great Pyramid was done almost in a perfect way.
Yeah.
And when I say almost, because it is not imperfect, but the standards of super perfect, you must find something wrong at the end. Okay.
Mm.
But yes, it was done in a super way. We cannot do this unless we spend a long time to examine and to fix mistakes and to be sure that everything is done in this way.
Mm.
I can tell you with like a great positive, confident way, we can, yes, build the pyramid, but in 200 years, maybe.
And that one officially, they built it in 20?
Yes.
That's nonsense.
Because they, no, you must know,
No,
not,
I mean, we're the story that they are selling
I
along
know,
with it, with the rope,
I need
the
to
slave.
correct that story. No, they didn't say it was built in 20 years. No, they said maximum 20 years. It could be less. Why that? Why they said 20 years or less? Because Khufu said, I built the pyramid in my lifetime. Like he finished the pyramid while he's still alive.
Okay.
And Khufu ruled for 20 years. So that's why they say 20 years or less. Okay.
Mm. Is that still the official, yeah, let's say, is that what is being taught to students these days?
Yes. Not only in Egypt, but any student of Egyptology all over the world, they study the same thing. It's one
But
source.
how is that possible? I mean, you might think that those students are a little bit intelligent. How comes that everybody is sitting there and just goes along with the story? I don't get it.
Okay, yes, you are right. But let me tell you, we have a saying in Egypt. It says, words in your ear has better effect than magic.
Okay.
So imagine this is what they study all the time. And they see very decent professors, and they talk with confident, and they talk with great logic. Okay. And they, unfortunately, the students they don't have the alternative story in that level. Okay. So they load their minds with such stories, and somehow it's stuck with their minds as true stories. Okay.
Mm.
But you made a good expression when you said intelligent. Yes, I started to teach my colleagues. Okay. And I found that the smartest ones are the ones are ready to accept the true story. So I called my friend Hani. Okay. We are friends for almost 26 years now. And I met him at the university. And I told him, Hani, let's go to the Egyptian Museum. And me and Yusuf, my friend, we used to work together for the X team. Yusuf and me, we started to explain to Hani that there is another civilization in ancient Egypt and they had advanced technology. So he had that sarcastic smile and look, okay? But we didn't stop. We started, keep on, okay? So after 1 hour, he started to open his eyes this way and his mouth, really, because we started to show him evidence and another and like hundreds of evidences. He used to see them, but he didn't pay attention. Okay, there was like shade between him and the truth. The second hour, he was like telling me why you don't write a book about this. Imagine. And now he is considered as my one of my main members in my team, because I'm creating a team of tour guides and of Egyptologists also in this field. I'm not trying to be the one-man show. No, I believe that this kind of knowledge must spread and many people not just learning, but also try to practice this with me. Okay. Yeah. So I managed to convert like 5 tour guides now.
So we also have a theory that building, when we go back to the how, that maybe they used levitation. Is that something that you could imagine, or would you say,
Look, no, I don't imagine this. I say it is the only solution.
Okay, good.
Okay. Why? If we are building a house of 3 floors, maybe, or 5 floors, we need lifters, we need cranes, we need, even with such huge buildings. Okay. But we are talking about almost 2,300,000 blocks of stones. 2,300,000 different size. Okay. And there are some blocks we don't know how big it is, because it is in the core of the pyramid. We know that there are pieces, granite pieces inside the pyramid weighing almost 100 tons. That is a huge, heavy weight for cranes, for our modern cranes, 100 tons. Okay. And I'm not talking about accessible ground, easy flat ground. No, I'm talking about Giza Plateau. It's high cliff, and they have to go up and down and then up and down. And then that piece is not also in the lower levels. It is high, almost in the final levels, on the height of 100 meters. Okay. So I will feel pity on our modern tools and machines to do this job. So the only solution is anti-gravity. Okay. I know many people will say that is impossible solution, but yes, this is the logical solution. Okay. But as I say, this is not imaginary solution. There is a scene in Komombo Temple and in other temples. We call it the levitation of the temple. Made by whom? By the ancient Egyptians. They are the ones who made the carving. They show the temple once on the ground and in another picture above the ground. Okay. And I keep this as a kind of a surprise to my clients when we talk about gravity and anti-gravity solutions. And I see that they are convinced, but they need evidence. So I don't tell them unless we go to there, until we go there, and I like give them the surprise. This is what I was talking about. And it is very clear. You will, when you see it, you don't need any explanations. You will immediately figure out what they are talking about. Okay. So imagine that this scene is not talking about a block of stone. It talks about the whole temple. The whole temple was levitated. So who can levitate the temple can levitate these blocks. And we are not talking also about the Great Pyramid. So because I know you were shocked with the number of the stones, right? 2 million.
No, I knew that it was a little bit more than, yeah, it's not really a little bit, but I knew it was
It
more
could
than
be,
2 million.
by the way, this is the minimum number, like what we call it, prospective number, but it could be exceeding this, okay? But let's escape the number. I can tell you there is one piece of a stone, okay? A structure made by one piece of a stone, but it is more challenged than the whole pyramid. Can you guess what? The obelisk in Karnak temple. What they call it, Hatshepsut obelisk. Just one stone, but it weighs almost 700 tons. One piece of a stone. Imagine this piece was cut from Aswan quarry and had to travel all the way to Luxor. What kind of machines can lift 700 tons? And it's not just a one-step job. No, it's a job of so many steps and levels. Okay. So yes, levitation, anti-gravity, it must be a technology used building the pyramids.
Yeah. We also have is it a relief or is it a painting? What some people call the light bulbs.
Okay. The one in Dendera Temple.
Yeah.
Yes. Look, I disagree with this completely.
Okay.
Yeah, no joke. I don't joke about this. Because I see that people, they try to underestimate the story. The story is much bigger than this. It is not light bulbs at all. And also, I don't deny that the Egyptian may produce electricity and they had lamps or something like that, but this is not the one. Guess what? This one, I call it the Big Bang story. The story of astronomy, when the universe was created, when the two major forces, the yin and yang, or the positive and the negative, get connected. So each design, in my opinion, is representing one of the major elements before the creation. The two major elements, the primordial elements. Okay. And there is what we call it Horus Samatawi. That is the title of the design. Horus Samatawi, we understand as academics, because you must know something. I don't deny all the work of Egyptologists. No, they did great job. Yes, they did great job. And without most of their work, we won't reach so many facts. Okay. But what we disagree with is, I think, from 5 to 10% only, which is the use of technology and how these huge structures were built. But most of the other things, we are fine together. We have maybe the same opinion. Okay. So Horus Samatawi, it means the beginning of creation. That Horus, who was created, or the one who is unifying the two lands. And some people say two lands means Upper and Lower Egypt, South and North. No, the two lands is like the two units of the universe. Okay. Because lotus flower and papyrus plant, in my opinion, also are one of the two main elements of consciousness. One, to raise your consciousness very high, that is lotus flower, and papyrus is to make it stabilize. Okay, to control this levitation. Female lotus and male papyrus. Okay. Yeah. So what I see under Dendera Temple in the crypt, now it is a story of the creation of the universe. What we call it Septebi or Zeptebi. That is the Zeptebi story.
Yeah, we see this lotus flower also in Buddhism. It's being used. Yes. Yeah.
It's important. And by the way, in Egypt, even from the ancient times, we had the rose flower. I think this is more like it is, how do you call it? We have it in higher numbers, more than the lotus. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like we have this rose flower almost everywhere, but we show appreciation more to the lotus flower, because the rose flower is a nice smell only. But the other one, the lotus, is a kind of um, a, a, a substance to open the closed spots in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It is not like drugs, no, because drugs actually do the opposite, close your mind. This one, it opens your mind and makes you uh, feel better, understand better, receive better. Okay. But in a way to control this, because it may takes you way up high, so you can use papyrus smell to stabilize the story. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So another, I guess that is a relief. What I was thinking about, the so-called helicopters.
Okay.
What do you make of them?
Okay. Look, also to be very honest, because I tried all the opinions, and when I try to say my opinion, I make sure to be to examine all the sides of it.
Mm.
So for sure, and I'm saying this like after long time of studying this, for sure there are two layers of writings above each other. Like no doubt, 100%. I'm saying this was very positive way. There are two writings above each other. And I already brought the two writings, each one, and I put them over each other, and it created the same picture exactly. Okay, the helicopter, the other one, the submarine, and they say this is like a glider, and one UFO. Okay. So my statement that the pictures in Abydos made by two layers were added above each other. But my strange opinion, like why? And here is the question: the person who made that, he wrote the second layer above the first layer, did he was aware with the result? Because the result is quite strange. I agree with you.
Mm.
And the second question, why he didn't do the same second layer in every other place where the first layer existed? So he made it in one section only. Okay. So maybe this layer was made in the ancient time, as they claim by the workers of Ramses II, or maybe was done much later by someone wanted to make distraction. When you go to Abydos temple, you don't care about the temple, you care about the helicopter every time. And I see this is happening. All the groups, they go to Abydos temple just to see the helicopter. So I tell them, come on, guys, we have other things to see, so many details and details connected with the afterlife in a great way. No, they don't care. It's stuck with their mind. Go to Abydos temple to see the helicopter. So I see it as a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, for sure, there are two layers above each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But,
yeah.
but shall we deny that ancient Egypt had planes and they had aircrafts? No, because there is what we call it Sakara bird. Okay. When they found a small wooden bird design, it is in the Egyptian museum, and they call it Sakara bird. When you look at this bird, if you have just a very simple idea about airplanes, you would immediately see it as an aeroplane, not as a bird. Okay, I will send you the picture of it.
Okay.
So yeah. It is not a bird 100%. It is like a small toy in the shape of an aeroplane.
I've never heard of that. I always hear about those helicopters.
I will send you the picture. You will be surprised to see.
Okay. So have you ever gotten into trouble because of your point of view? Did anybody try to push you out of your business, or was it always okay?
Look, it is not a crime. It is not like a serious problem. But yes, let's say I didn't receive like any kind of threats or something bad, but still not accepted with the academics. Okay, as if like they just being bully on you, they being like sarcastic. They say like you are almost mad, you are trying to serve another agenda, and you know those kind of accusations. Okay, so this is what I face, but not something serious. Like it's not about my business or my life or anything. No, that the field in Egypt is quite like very respectable and nice, but it's just maybe the hardest thing they can do, or the highest level, is just ruining your reputation in the field, but nothing else. No. Okay.
Okay. So, to you personally, what was your most striking piece of evidence that you ever looked at where you said, this is technology, there is no way that this is something else?
The unfinished books, the granite unfinished books in the Egyptian Museum. This is the books. When I took Hani to it, and Hani, after just 1 minute, he immediately accepted the story. And this is where I believe you, if you take any person who rejected the story of technology, take him to the unfinished box, and he will immediately say, yes, I know what you're talking about now. I see what you're trying to show me. Because it's a huge granite box, not complete, because they were trying to cut the lid from the back side of the box, and something wrong happened, so the lid is broken. But the deep cut still exists. And that cut, no way to happen without a huge or a giant disc. Okay, no way to claim anything else. There is no chances for any imagination. It's very clear. And guess what? I'll tell you a very funny story. I was doing the marble and the granite work for my new house. So I used to deal with a man in the marble factory for a long time. We almost became friends. So I told him, do you believe that the ancient Egyptians had technology like what you are using now? So he laughed and said, of course not. They had hammers and they had. So I told him, can you shape this with hammer? He said, no, of course I can't. So I said, how you claim that the ancient did better job than you with hammers? He said, because they trained well. They were practicing this for a long time. Yeah, that is one of the opinions, how they explain the perfect work.
Yeah.
So I told him, okay, let's go tomorrow to the Egyptian Museum. So I took him to the Egyptian Museum and I showed him the box. So he immediately told me, sorry, Mr. Mohammed, I was wrong. They must have better machines than us. Because when I say saw disc, we don't have that size can cut this block nowadays. You got my point? So even with the technology, we have the small size of technology. The ancient Egyptian must have bigger size of these machines. Okay, because it's a challenge. Even like I cannot easily ask the factory to do this big machine for me, because what, spinning with this speed on the granite will cause too much heat, and the chances that this disc, which is made of metal and diamond, to melt or to break, it's very high. That's why they don't make such huge machines, which is also very expensive. It will be very expensive. So that is my, of course, there are hundreds of other evidences, but this is, in my opinion, this is the very clear one, the best example.
When you do tours with people, do you always take the same route, or
No, never.
Okay.
Look, because I learn it or not learn it, I follow my passion.
Okay.
Okay. So I can tell you, sometimes I repeat things, but it is not my choice. It's my heart. I follow my heart. So, but I can tell you that most of the cases, no, I don't follow the same routine. Even if I visit, like every time I must visit Karnak Temple, the pyramids and the museum, but you will see that my passion and my, I sometimes receive kind of energy from different pieces. So I always like do different corners Okay, but there are some sections I must visit, like the unfinished books, like the section of the pre-dynastic, because I need to tell the story of the lost civilization there. Okay, but sometimes if you keep coming to my tours, even my son Adam, I take him in my tours now for more than 4 years. He told me last time when we were at the pyramids, he told me, Dad, I heard you talking about the pyramid in a completely different way this time. So it's not necessarily to avoid going to the same places, but sometimes I can repeat the same site, the same stop, the same point, but it won't be the same story. It will be a different story. Okay.
What is your
I love doing this job.
Yeah,
Imagine I have been to Giza Plateau hundreds of times. I don't know how many, maybe thousands. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Every time I go, and not only Giza Plateau, but everywhere else, every time it's my first time. Like a child happy to go to the zoo.
Yeah, but you know, that type of passion, that is what makes a good tour guide.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you just, you know, like, then, and you know, the people that are with you, they can feel it, even if they cannot point their finger on it, but they feel that something is slightly off. What is your personal highlight every time you go on a tour?
Look, many. Look, if we must escape the pyramids out of this question, okay? Because if I choose, it will be the pyramids.
Oh, sure.
Okay, but let's escape the pyramids. Karnak Temple. Karnak Temple is my best place in Egypt because there are so many elements in this temple. You see many levels. You see, I can tell you that the story of Egypt, the whole story in Karnak Temple. Huge place. You know, I go and spend at least 6 hours in Karnak Temple, minimum 6 hours. And it's not enough at all. That's why in some tours, I visit Karnak Temple twice. I had my friend Tristan from, I think, San Francisco States. He listened to some of my videos on YouTube. He watched some. And he tried to find my contact. That's why I had to put my email address recently. So he came and his wife to Egypt to have private tour with me. We went to Luxor together also. We spent 2 days. Imagine with 2 people, sometimes it is much easier rather than a group. Okay, because with a group, we must walk slowly and we care for the elder people. Okay, we take several rests, but with 2 people, we can cover a huge distance in a short time. So imagine with 2 people only, I did Karnak Temple twice, 2 full days with them. Okay, the whole day, and then the following day, the whole day in Karnak Temple. And it's still not enough. We didn't cover more than 50% of Karnak Temple. The place is huge, and it has, of course, the huge blocks. It had the alabaster. It has the most beautiful statue for Sekhmet in her own chapel. It has the obelisk of Hatshepsut, the broken one and the standing one. It had the sacred lake, and unbelievable sight. The calcite chambers, what we call it, alabaster chambers. One room, like the room you are sitting in now, made from one single piece of stone, from alabaster stone. The whole room.
Wow.
From one piece of stone. Okay, that exists in Karnak Temple. If I'm going to choose one site, it will be Karnak Temple.
Is that where they do sometimes in the evening the light show? And
they do light show in Karnak Temple, yes, every evening.
Yeah. So how has your field of expertise, Egyptology in general, how has that changed since you had the so-called Arab Spring and the ousting of Mubarak, and
no, still the same.
it's still
Because
the same.
exactly, because Egyptology is not an Egyptian choice. No, it is like global teaching. That's why I told you, if you are in Mexico, if you are in the States, if you are in Japan, if you are in anywhere and studying Egyptology, it's going to be the same material, maybe the same books. Okay.
Yeah, you
So
know,
no.
sometimes with a new regime, there comes, you know, new restrictions or whatever, but nothing of that sort happened there.
Yeah, I understand. That's why I like made sure to tell you it is not about Egypt only. Okay. Yeah, it's England, France, Germany, Egypt, the United States. No, so Egyptology is global now.
Yeah. So I would briefly like to go back to your video about the 5 cycles. And in your video, you connected that with our current situation and the coronavirus and everything that is going on. Yes. And I thought that was a very, very positive and hopeful message. So could you elaborate a little bit?
Yes, look, I say that we have 5 cycles of the sun, and those cycles are, each cycle is like almost 20,000 years. 5 cycles of daylight, starting from dawn time till afternoon. Dawn, Kepher the scarab. Morning is like 9 o'clock in the morning. Each one of the first 4 cycles is 3 hours. Okay, the same like the normal day. Noon, atom, and afternoon, like 3 p.m. is aton. Those cycles are the cycles of power, consciousness, everything positive, everything good in our life, in our manners, in our technology, in our senses. Okay, but it seemed that the cycle number 4 was the strongest one, with the best one in everything. But also there was a very, very bad, how do you call it, weakness happened, which is ego. So it was bad, very also big ego with this civilization or this cycle. And that's why I think that the story of Atlantis is that part. It was the cycle of Aton. Okay. And the word Aton, by the way, in Arabic language, we call it Atun, means the, you know, when we make a camp in the desert and we have the bonfire. Okay. So if we have very huge fire, a circle of fire, that is, we call it Atun. Okay. It's very strong fire, destructive fire. Anything you put will burn it in a second. So my guessing that this cycle was finished or ended by a very, very strong disaster. And that disaster could be the famous story of the solar flare, happened, I think, earlier or before 10,000 BC. And the following disaster was the end of Ice Age, the flood, 9,700 BC, according to Dr. Robert Schoch. And we fall into the cycle number 5, Amun. So all of them are the sun. Kepher as the sun, Ra the sun, Atum the sun, Atun the sun, and also Amun the sun. But Amun, which is sun? The sun we don't see. The sun in the in the other side of the world. Okay.
So as in night.
As a night, exactly. So Amun means the hidden one. So when we say Amun Ra, I see the hidden Ra, the hidden sun. So here is the question. If you are in dark, you and other people, and something happened in front of you, a story or a case or anything happened, are you able to tell one story, all of you?
No.
No, because you don't see the details. Someone has sharp eyes, someone not, someone has slightly some light, okay? But in the cycle of light, you will have one story. So that is what's happening. We used to live in darkness. In the last almost what, 12,000 years, since 9,700, that is the beginning of cycle of Ammon, okay, or maybe later a little bit, but at least the last 2,000s were officially part of the cycle of Ammon. So it is the cycle of darkness, fears also, the ignorancy. I know some people will say we had like pioneers and so many smart people. They are exceptions. I'm talking about the majority, about the major behavior and the major
collective
attitude.
consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So according to the Mayan calendar, 2012 was the end of the world. Who said the end? It is the end of the cycle, Amun. So Amun Ra cycle or Amun cycle officially ended 2012. Okay, and we are going into the new cycle of Kepher. Who is Kepher? Kepher is the scarab, is a sign of rebirth, sign of new beginning. So we are receiving a new chance for new life now, for new consciousness, new beginning. And that's why we can say the Arab Spring, what is happening happened in France, people protesting about policy, what is happening nowadays in United States, and what is going to happen in so many other places, because that such uprising, because people started to see light. Yes, it's not very clear yet, but it will be very clear soon. And coronavirus is another evidence that because the end of each cycle, it must be a disaster. But that disaster, because to move from light to dark, it is something very strong. So the disaster is supposed to be very strong. But to move from dark to light, no, it's actually a blessing. So you don't need destructive disaster to end humankind. No, it is the opposite. It's a way to give a chance to humankind to survive and to know better. And I think if we look in a positive way to this disaster, yes, I know about economy and about food supplies and such things. But if you look from the positive ways, you will find that we are staying home. We have more time for other things, for many things, especially family relations, neighbors, reading and educating ourselves, communicating better. Okay. So we are having a chance to know each other and to know our environment in a better way. So I see coronavirus is not a pandemic. No, it is like a blessing. Okay. And it is the last step before we clearly open our eyes and we see the real cycle of Kepher, cycle number 1 again.
Yeah, many
So I'm
people
expecting,
cannot handle the fact that they have to spend a lot of time with their family members.
look, each person has its own experience. Okay, so you will find that we are having this kind of lockdown or quarantine in a different way. But I didn't expect, like, I think if you ask so many people, you will get what I'm talking about. As men, when we stay home that long time, my opinion, that's supposed to cause more troubles. Okay, father and the kids. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. But no, it didn't. Maybe it happened in the first days, but then it's a kind of peaceful time and kind of agreement about giving chances for communications. Okay. Even in Egypt, as an example, the rate of divorce was very high before this pandemic. Now it's like at least 5% less than it used to be. Logic will say this is wrong. It's supposed to be high. Okay, because when I am upset with the family, I go outside, meet my friends, go to the coffee shop, like try to release my stress, my anger. All of these things are not available anymore. So I'm going to release this stress on my family. Okay. Of course, that is not right, but I'm talking the reality. But it doesn't happen. Okay. So as if we are not living in a negative feeling. No, it is positive feeling. So this is what I want people to understand.
These cycles that you described would and this that we are coming out of. Is that what the Hindus would call Kali Yuga?
No, I'm
Where
not
everything
sure.
is upside down and really stressful.
Yes, in this case will be this true. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That will be this case. Yeah, because again, in darkness, yes, but you don't know what is surrounding you and you could be upside down. Okay. And also the cycle of Amun is the cycle of control. Not you, someone will control you. A leader, a priest, a scientist, so you got my point. So we were always under control as groups, not as individuals. Okay. But the the cycle of light, no, you see your way, you see where you are walking and why and how and everything. Okay. So even if you are following somebody, now you know why exactly, you know every detail because you can see better. But in the cycle of darkness, no, you don't see, you hear. Okay. Just hearing. And remember when I told you too much talk in your ear has better effect than magic. Okay.
Yeah. Do you think that certain souls come in deliberately at these junctures in time and, you know, trying to ease the waves?
Maybe, yes. And I call them the knitters. Okay. The knitters are the forces of nature or the elements of nature. And yes, maybe, because sometimes your human consciousness needs like a push or like a help. So I think this is happening. Because if you move from a state to another, like with a jump, maybe you will collapse. You will not be able to digest the new energy. That's why you need some help. So it could be, yes.
Yeah. So your next tour will start next year, yeah? Everything has been canceled for this year?
Yes, exactly. I announce now about my tours in March, April, May, and June. Not before. I think,
there are still spaces available?
Pardon?
There are still spaces available?
Yes. Yes. Look, I feel very positive that people will travel again, especially to Egypt, because if I talk about this cycle and I follow my feelings, Egypt is the center. We have a saying we call Egypt Masr. Masr means Egypt. Masr ad-Dunya. Masr ad-Dunya. The Arabs explain this and the Egyptians too. Masr, Egypt is the mother of the world. Okay. Now I see that this is not right because we have the word which they call it mother. In other cases, maybe like very limited cases, means center. So Egypt is the center of the world. And when I say center, I'm talking about not a geographical center. Okay. No, it is where you feel that you belong to this place. Okay. Like the sun and the planets moving around. Like the seed and or the base of the tree. Okay. So your chance to enjoy this kind of a new cycle with the new energies, in my opinion, my feeling, you must come to the source to activate yourself. Okay. So people without their decision, they will find out that they want to come to Egypt. Okay. That's why I prepared myself for big tours, especially that one in June, because we are going to do something unique. Also, it will be the first time to talk about this with you and with anybody else. I used to do a tour every year in December to Karnak Temple. If you want to find me, where is Mohammed at 21st of December? I will be in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning in Karnak Temple for 10 years. Okay? Every
For 10
year.
years.
Yes. Where is Muhammad? At Karnak Temple, 21st of December, 5 o'clock in the morning. Because that was the day of Amun, when the sun aligned with the gates of Karnak Temple. But guess what? I realized that the last 2 years that this alignment is not happening, is wrong. Something wrong is happening, okay? And I started to pay attention to the story. Yes, we are no longer in this cycle of Amun. We are in the cycle of Kepher now. So I need to go to another, or to find another phenomenon. So instead of the winter solstice, it is now the summer solstice, okay? Which is the 21st of June, 21st of June, we're at the Sphinx.
Okay.
This is where we will enjoy and maybe activate the energy of the cycle. So that's why I made a special visit to the Sphinx at this day, 5 o'clock in the morning. You'll find now, from now, you know where to find me every year. Okay, 21st of June at the Sphinx area, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I really have to think about this. I think I would like to join that June tour.
Yeah, that is very important. It may be a little bit hot, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay. And because that day, the sun will be exactly facing the Sphinx and facing the middle point between the two pyramids, number 2 and number 3. Okay.
Mohamed, thank you so much for coming. That was really a very interesting talk. I love ancient Egypt, the entire, that was part of my, yeah, let's say part of my awakening. When I, you know, that, as I said, the story with the ropes and the slaves never made really sense to me. And then when I figured out, oh, there are a lot of other people who say it doesn't make sense. And then, yeah.
Yes, of course, you are welcome. And I enjoyed talking to you. I always feel that when I meet people like you, they actually give me they force me to dig more and to try to find more stories. Because I know there are so many people talking about lost technologies, and they talk about this, but I try to make it as a nice logical story. I'm not just trying to impress people about numbers and about this is possible, this is impossible. No, I'm trying to take them to a true story in the advanced ancient Egypt. And I know that words are not enough, but as I told you, one day with me, with other people, because as I told you, I'm trying to educate people about this. You will find that when you come with this new conception in your mind in the Egyptian sites, you are truly feel yourself in the ancient advanced world. Okay. And knowing our past will help us to know our future.
Yeah.
But denying our past is a way to block our imagination, so we will not enjoy our future.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't agree more. Okay, so thank you so much for coming. I'm looking forward to another one.
Sure.
And all the best for you and your work. And so guys, that was it, Night Flight for today. And with the wonderful Mohamed Ibrahim, we see you next time. Stay safe and sound. Bye-bye.
Bye.